we had a great question from Vicky, and so good that I decided to put together a whole new workshop I've never done before, okay? This is literally brand new. It's pieced together because that's what a workshop is. But she asked a good question, and it came off of this idea I have from Nick Raines, we talked about earlier, where he breaks out programming and coaching by age. Now, there's people online, of course there are people online complaining about everything. I don't give away enough free stuff is what I usually hear. Who, you know, when I give you these numbers, they'll raise their hand and say, you know, I don't exactly agree with that. Well, good, because when you're trying to make a broad presentation, you have to simplify. And Nick came up with an interesting thing about, basically there's 4 age groups across the board, okay? Basically from birth to 16, around 17 to 35, 36 to 55, and 56 plus. We all have different needs in those groups. So after you asked the question, I started really thinking this through more and more and more. One of the issues we have in the United States, and I'm sure it's not true in any other country, but you might have a 12 or 13-year-old boy who dominates the sport, and mom and dad already have them on the cover of magazines, their autobiography is going to sell millions, and they're going to be in movies, right? And the truth is, that boy just hit adolescence before his teammates. And he dominates because he's a man at a different age. I was fortunate in my case. I was the youngest person in my class because of the way I'm an August 28th with the September 1st cutoff. In this day and age, my parents would have held me back. I'm the youngest of 6. Mom couldn't wait to see me go off to school, okay? But I was also the youngest of 6, so I was always chasing. By the way, my other brothers were all Division I athletes. So I was lucky, I was playing sports with Division I athletes as an 8-year-old. I wasn't as good as them, shockingly. But it was good because I didn't know that I wasn't good. You know what I'm saying? So, the number one thing I would say at this time is I'm not gonna say it like the French do because I always get it wrong, but a guy named George Herbert, Jorge Herbert, I'm sure, he came up on a volcano and his ship was coming in and he noticed that the volcano was killing lots and lots of people. And it gave him an insight about life. And the idea was the people who survived had a skill set. And the skill set is still true today. Now, I'm going to add 2 extra things to it. I think bike riding is something you should be able to do. The reason I learned this is that in Utah at the Winter Olympics in 2002, I was an administrator and we had to go to all these catastrophe classes. Now, part of the reason we had to go to catastrophe classes, well, Munich, 1972, we had the Munich massacre. And then, of course, just a few months before we had our Winter Olympics, 9/11 happened, and the USOC didn't want us to mention it. It was kind of a big event, Olympic Committee, and I think the way we dealt with it was pretty good. But the thing is, on an international stage, bad things can happen. We're also in an earthquake zone, so bad things can happen. I learned a lot of important things from that, and I think it makes me a safer person and a much sounder. For example, in our home, we have a hot water heater, right as we speak. That water gets refreshed every day, and it's 150 gallons. If something bad happens, I have 150 gallons of water, fresh water, that we can drink. So that's gonna last us a couple days. So I'm not worried about storing water in plastic bottles, which have their own issues. Because I know for at least a couple days I have enough water. The other thing they said is on the way home tonight, count the number of overpasses you drive under. Because in an earthquake, a lot of them aren't going to be there anymore. And I got to tell you, it stunned me for where I live. Because at the time, it was where I lived, it was a lot. And the person said very simply, if you have a bicycle and you know how to ride it, because anything, nuclear attack, chemical attack, neurological attack, all you need to do statistically is get yourself 90 miles away, 120 clicks. Okay? Well, I don't want to drive my bike 90 miles, but I can. And if I come to a broken down overpass, the cars aren't gonna be able to get around it, but I can pick my bike up, carry it over, and ride myself. You can ride yourself, you can ride yourself to basic safety, at least for the short term. Is it perfect? No, we're talking about nuclear attack. It's not perfect, but survive. The other thing is break falling, I would add, learning how to take a fall. At my age, the most dangerous thing in this facility is the floor. Now, I said that story 1,000 times to the point that it got boring. Not long ago, Erica was visiting her mom and I got food poisoning. At 3 in the morning, I started to vomit. When I stood up quickly in the toilet, I passed out and I hit my face. I took a chunk of skin out of my face. That way, my skin doctor said I needed a plastic surgeon for it. Now, a freaking Wolverine, I didn't need it. This healed over. I'm serious, right? Weeks later, I go back to the skin doctor and he goes, Wolverine that shit, okay? So that'll have to be edited out. But basically what Herbert taught us was the most important things from birth to 16 are pursuit. Now this is interesting because with pursuit, we get right into Tim Anderson's original strength. You should learn, you should be able to walk. Yesterday, I walked 25,000 steps. I don't know how far 25,000 steps is, but it's far enough to get away from something bad. You should learn how to run, and you should master crawling. There's nothing new about this. This is hundreds of years old. The second thing, you should learn how to escape the pina coladas. You should have climbing skills. By the way, climbing is vertical crawling, right? You should learn how to balance, okay? You should learn how to jump. The best way to get away from a rattlesnake is to jump away from it. You don't reach and try to strangle it, you jump away. And finally, you should learn how to swim. The other day, Justin taught me how to swim back home when I got angry. Because from Australia to San Francisco Bay is farther than I thought. And then, and this is interesting, because that last rung is my career. You should learn how to throw things. If you're being attacked by an alpha predator on land, you have an advantage they don't have. You can throw things at them. You can throw rocks, you can throw sticks. The nice lady up there told me the other day, if there's a dingo present, grab a stick and walk with it, because the stick is good enough. I thought, wow, not much has changed since we were in caves or burns or whatever it was. You should lift. And finally, you should be able to fight. When I was teaching high school, secondary school, I had an all-female weightlifting class, which was just marvelous. And one of the things I taught them was self-defense. And we took tackling dummies. Does that translate to tackling dummies? Okay. These big, soft dummies. And I taught them this technique where you put your head down and you just go like this. Boom, 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 boom. And you use your forehead on your attacker. You push and you strike for this area. Every time we did that, one of my female athletes, my female students, would be just sobbing down her face. And I would ask her, are you okay? No, I'm fine. It is one of the finest psychological things I could do. I think it'd be if you're having a bad day, find something that hit, go. Folks, I don't want you to fight. But if you have to fight, I'm glad you have the toolkit before than after. There's an old thing about swimming, and the story goes something like this. This seminary student, this religious student, shows up and pays the boatman to take him across the river. And the boatman says, what have you been doing? I've been studying. What have you been studying? He goes, important things. Oh, like what? And the seminary student's theology. I go, oh, They teach you how to swim? No. It's too bad because the boat's sinking. When is a good time to learn how to swim? Before the boat is sinking. When's a good time to teach your kids to swim? Before they need to learn to swim. In my life, I've had to deal with floods. 1983 in Utah, we had massive flooding. I don't think anyone got drowned in the waters, but it's far better to learn to swim before you have to. If you're playing in this ocean over here, it's a good idea to have some swimming skills before you get in a riptide. Okay? It's good to know how to run away from something before you have to run away from something. Also, from birth to 16, I would suggest you learn every sport, every game you can possibly learn. I've said this many times, if I'd have been raised in like East Germany, when they used to measure people for sports, maybe they'd have made me a kayaker or a fencer, okay? I might have been born to be the best kayaker in world history, but I was never exposed to it. The sports I was exposed to were American football and track and field. If I'd have been raised in Iowa where wrestling is the king sport, maybe I'd have been the greatest wrestler. Canada, ice hockey. You follow my point? The more sports and games you can learn. When we were talking about the Australian sports here, Lisa explained one or two rules of Australian rules football that I didn't exactly understand, but I understood the game outside of those two little things I didn't catch on, because I understand sports and games. One of the people on my forum summarized the following three brilliantly, and I'll summarize it for you. They said, from 17 to 35, you should learn the Olympic lifts. From 36 to 55, you should learn the power lifts. And from 56 and above, you should bodybuild. Sadly, most of us reverse this in our life. We bodybuild until we realize we don't have the DNA for it. Then we try the other sports. So, from 17 to 35, that's when you can learn the ballistics of life. Ballistics, it's the hit followed by, just walking it in. I work with people all the time who ask me in this age group, should I learn the Olympic lifts? And I would say yes, because the lessons you'll get in mobility and flexibility and how to use power are going to be valuable in your adult age. But from 17 to 35, and this is a hard thing to listen to. If you're not making a living from your sport at 22, you're too old. But these are the times, in the kettlebell world, I would suggest these are the times you teach the kettlebell ballistics. The snatch, the clean, the swing. I have two big pieces of advice at this age group. Don't get fat and stay debt free. Now, when I say that to American audiences, I always get an email from somebody angry about that first one, because I'm mean. But the truth is, Art Devaney was asked a question years ago. Do you guys know the work of Arthur Devaney? It's funny how that's already disappeared, how quickly. Evolutionary physics. Paleo. Boy, this stuff comes and goes quickly. Art Devaney was asked by a woman in a workshop. She raised her hand. How do you get rid of fat at my age? And he said, don't get fat in the first place. I'm sure he got emails from that. But the truth is, this is the most important time in your life to take care of your physical health and your financial health. And how you take care of your financial health at this age is you get your degrees, you get them on time, and you take care of business. You study in the classroom, you learn what you're doing, you take care of business, okay? From 36 to 55, one of the things I try to emphasize for people is this is where you build up your strength account, okay? Yeah, every Saturday at my house, we have a financial inner circle, intentional community. We all get together and we talk about books we've read, about finance, about good decisions we've made, about bad decisions we've made. And we have members who are 20 and 22. We have a member who's 68 and all ages in between. Wouldn't you like at age 20 to start investing? It's not a bad idea. So we call this career, well, one of the terms we use a lot, and we'll come back to this over here, is career capital. And the idea of career capital is, you had this job that you didn't like. And maybe it was an after-school job, working at, I don't know, a gas station selling, selling drinks, and you worked at McDonald's and you were the French fry guy. One of the lessons you learn from being the French fry guy is you don't want to spend the rest of your life being the French fry guy. I worked in a cheese factory cleaning number 4 cooker hoods. I learned a great lesson in those 54 weeks. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. I don't want to work 10 p.m. to 6:30 in the morning. It was really difficult. Now those sound like not lessons. Yeah, I do not want to do that again. But those are good lessons. But I also learned that in a corporation, you need to use a lot of water to keep things fresh. And it really changed my vision about using lots of water to keep food safe. Okay, it's a life lesson. Other career capital. Every one of you's probably had a job that you didn't realize that you learned lessons from until you saw it in the rearview mirror. You've changed careers slightly in your life, right? Everybody's changed careers slightly. You picked up lessons you didn't even know you had until you turned. I didn't realize how much I could offer as an administrator until I looked back and realized that administrating 25,000 teachers was harder than 40 teenage boys in a classroom. 25,000 middle-aged people are a lot harder to deal with than 40 high school boys. Why? 40 high school boys will listen to a whistle, okay? And they know something. You can't whistle adults, though I wish you could. At this age here, the number one thing I want you to think about is something I call everyday strength. The idea is this. This comes from the work of Heidegger, English translation of the Physiology of Strength. It's 1961, German book, probably 1958, research from 1948 to 1958. So basically, brand new information, okay? He very simply said this. If you take 6 months off of lifting, it takes very, very little amount to get that strength back where you left off. What was interesting, he said, so I live for 5 years and get strong. Then I take 6 months off. It might take me 2 months to get back to where I used to be. I take another 6 months off. It might take 1 month to get back to where I used to be. I take another 6 months off. It might only take me a few weeks. My thought is this. You take 6 months off. What is your strength levels on your second or third day back in the weight room? Whatever that is, that I call your everyday strength. And that is the baseline for the rest of your life. Whatever that number is, maybe it's 100 kilos in bench press, front squat, and whatever other exercise you're measuring. Fine. That everyday strength is going to be such an investment for the rest of your life. You can count on that everyday strength when you're 68, 70 years old. It's still there. It's still in the tank. So from 36 to 55, you want to get yourself as strong as you can be, as easily as you can be. Okay? So in this age group, you want to have your everyday strength kind of lined up so you can count on it. Now listen to what I'm talking about already. Don't get fat here. Find a nice strength limit here. And why? Start saving and investing as a 17-year-old. For every dollar you make, put 10% in saving and 10% investments. Some of those investments will be stupid, but every so often you're going to have there's a famous American baseball player who played for a Seattle team, and he didn't know what to do with his money. So he said, I'm only going to invest in Seattle's businesses. So he chose Starbucks, Microsoft, and the other big Seattle business that I don't remember at the top of my head. Oh, Amazon. He invested $100,000 in those. He's doing okay, right? He's doing okay. If you invest here financially, how much do you have to worry about here? I'll tell you one thing. If you invest in a place in Rainbow Beach today, you'll be very happy in about 3 years that you did that. Very happy you did that. So, from 36 to 55, that's where you want to get as strong as you can, but still be living off the fine benefits of where you were. The next thing is a concept I came up with recently called naga. At this age, it's also time to realize that certain things are in the rear view mirror for the first time. We have a phrase in America, hold my beer and watch this. This is the age to start thinking about that. This is when you have to go. So I'm famous for my challenges. I have one called the 10,000 swing challenge. Oh, naga. Not going to do that again. Okay? Dan, you want to do the 10,000 swing challenge? I've done it 14 times. That's in my rearview mirror. Okay? When I was talking to Mike Grad about it, the very first thing he said was the 10,000 swing challenge. We've done it 14 times. What would the 15th get us? Nothing. Except for another 20 days of, why am I doing this? Our friend Kevin said, I'm never training for the snatch, for the 5-minute kettlebell certification. It's behind me. I'm certified, I don't want to do it again. Someone would say, well, don't you want to recertify? He's an architect. I don't know if you guys know what an architect is, but they don't spend a lot of time doing 5-minute snatches, you know? So one of the important things for you to do is start to realize that certain things are behind you. And this is important with you with your education and with you with yours. In the United States, a lot of people choose not to graduate from high school on time. And then at age 30, they realize that they need to get a diploma. How hard would it be to get your high school diploma at 30? Well, it's pretty simple. You take a test. But you should have done that when you're 17 or 18. I know a lot of people go back to college. So I got my bachelor's degree at 21. Yes, I was young and I know that. But even 22, 23, 24, it's so much easier to be in college when you're a room full of people who are all about the same age as you. Don't take this wrong, Barry. But if you're taking a freshman history class with your beard, you might stand out, okay? Take care of business when it's time to take care of business and push those things behind you. Do any of you have a naga? Sir?
Triathlons.
He said triathlons, okay. Yesterday we went on that hike and we were all talking about climbing up a sand dune backwards for 2 miles, and every participant here did it. It was impressive to watch. It took 7 hours to watch all of you backward crawl up a sand dune, 2 mile sand dune. It was impressive to watch. I didn't do it. Why? I ain't gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Why? Because I walked 25,000 steps yesterday. I didn't need to add anything else to it. My concern at my age, one mistake, and I'm back in surgery. Like I always say, I can handle one more surgery. I can't handle one more recovery. Okay? So it's time at this age to start thinking about nagas. It doesn't mean you're quitting. It means you're looking forward to a different future. This is what we're going to run into right now, called values collisions. Let me give you my story, and you have it in your handout, but I want to share it anyway. This January, the NC2A lost the lawsuit. And I found out that I have 2 more years of eligibility as a college athlete. So we went out to the track and I threw the discus. I can still throw the discus farther than school. Our women's program is really good, our men's is poor. I can still break our school record in the discus. And I started, and Erica was there. I reached out to Utah State University and I said, you know, I got 2 more years of eligibility. And they all thought it was a great idea. My coach at Westminster was like, yeah, this would have happened 20 years ago, I'd have done it. And by the way, it'd make a great movie. And we've already, somebody already reached out to Brad Pitt, and I said, unless he gets in good shape, he's not gonna be able to do me. You know, he's gonna really have to up his game. And then that guy who played Thor, my neighbor, and then I go, we couldn't teach him the discus. What happened is, and it's funny because now I'm in real time. I'm in a values collision right as we speak. Right as we speak. Because I got fired up telling you the story. I did. I got fired up. I would go back, get another master's. You know, I'd be in the dorms. I'd be with the freshman girls. How you doing? But Daisy is 6 months old. Elwin is 1 year old. I want to be around for those guys. To be a Division I thrower again, I would have to put on, you know, what, 90, yesterday I was 92 kilos with clothes on, so let's just guess I'm 91. I compete at 110 to 123 kilos. That's gonna, well, I think it's great to go back to throwing the discus for Utah State University, but I want to be at their weddings. Did you see how the values collided there? So one of the things you need to do is sometime sit down and figure out what your values are. My values lift me out of the fog. My values are the fog that lift me out of the fog. My three values, core values, are fitness, order, generosity. Hopefully you can see some order here. Hopefully in being with me these few days, you can see that fitness is a value. I've mentioned this a couple of times, but I walked 25,000 steps yesterday. Hero, where's my medal? Where's my trophy? Where's my parade? So, one of the things you need to do at this age too is start thinking about your nagas. Okay. And then once you hit 56 and above, it's time to bodybuild. Let me tell you the things you should work on. Lean body mass at age 55 just starts to run away from you. Lean body mass screams away. You know, you can go to all those books, Spring Chicken by Bill Gifford, which I think is the best longevity book ever written, by far. And the other ones, it's funny because Bill actually edited another one, and it's a mere shadow of his own Spring Chicken. Bill also trains with us. But they always put the picture of the 40-year-old thigh and the 65-year-old thigh. And the 40-year-old thigh is all red with lean body mass, and the 60-year-old thigh is all white with fat. Lean body mass starts sprinting away at about 55. So big three, plus one. One, you've got to keep lean body mass. And we do that by traditional bodybuilding. And that's what I do if you come to my gym. It does seem strange for me to be doing hip thrust, leg extension, leg curl, Romanian deadlifts in the 20 to 25 range. Those are good numbers for those exercises. You know, after a lifetime, I used to think high reps were 3 reps. That was like cardiovascular numbers. You want to do 3 reps? Holy cow. God, you think I'm a runner? You know? Number 2, the other thing that sprints out of your life at age 55 is mobility. Mobility is the free movement around the joints. Separate mobility from flexibility. Flexibility is neurological tricks. Mobility is the free movement. And the system we use in my gym is called original strength. I came up with this idea a few years ago. Then I give it to Tim Anderson. No, I'm kidding. So we use Tim Anderson's original strength because it is mobility that also teaches reflexive strength. And reflexive strength that you picked up here gets forgotten in long flights and long bus rides and long car rides and long days at the office. So for me, it's mobility and the ability to instantly without thinking, move. The third thing comes in 2 waves, and to me it's a power law. You have to keep fast twitch going at some level. Though I'm willing to, if you haven't been doing it for years, I'm willing to back off of that one. So that's why I still like some intelligent ballistics in the training. For me, because I have titanium hips, you'll notice I do a lot of work. When I do things, I keep one limb on the ground and I do these explosive cross crawls. I do backwards running because backwards running doesn't impact my hips like forward running. And interesting, was it 6 months ago or a year and a half ago we were in Denmark? A year and a half? I sprinted again for the first time since 2009 because I was doing so much of this work, I was able to sprint again. Now, it took me 16 years to recover sprinting. For most of your clients, you might not have enough clock time. Bodybuild, original strength, and power law, ballistic work of some kind, fast twitch muscle fiber, and then walking. And I gotta tell you folks, walking, which is probably one of the most important of the resets, this is a very inexpensive pedometer. Every single day I compete with this to get 10,000 steps. For the last couple of years, I've been doing 10,000 steps a day, minus 100 kilocalories a day, lift weights 3 days a week. And I might not be able to get the kilo translation. I've lost a pound a month for 4 years. 48 pounds, which is probably what, 22 kilos in 4 years. And when people ask me the secret, I tell them 10,000 steps a day, a minor caloric drop every day, no cheat days, and just tiny amounts of weightlifting. The secret, every day, is the secret. When you're in here, every day you gotta run at it. Now, I wanna give you a couple assignments. Oh, and then I'll give you a few other things. One good one is because this is the first time I've ever done this, I skipped an important point. So basically, if you're in the kettlebell world, this 17 to 35 is the age of the ballistics. This is the 10,000 swing, this is the snatch challenge, this is all that stuff. 36 to 55, this one you want to play with the grinds more. And you know what? I'm going to include the Turkish get up there. Yeah, that's more the grind time. That's when you're trying to build up that base of strength. And I'll be honest with you, in my perfect world, 56 plus would be the armor building complex. That would be the 2 cleans, 1 press, 3 squat, and the other day being the high rep presses, because that is it's a marvelous hypertrophy workout, okay? Another question came up during the break on values. So when it comes to values collisions, and listen, this is gonna sound a little bit woo-woo, but it's not. I have a set of values that I said earlier: fitness, order, generosity. I said that. But when I sit down with somebody, I say, my orders are fitness. Well, anybody would disagree. I have thousands of books, tons of magazines. I've written 1,000 articles on fitness, 26 books, I think. I lose count because I write them out so fast. If you don't think I'm into fitness, I don't know what I order. All you gotta do is spend an hour with me. My God, I have a system for everything. My spoon, my fork, spoon, my knife, spoon. Yes, psychopath is okay. So you can go online and find values worksheets. If you can't, email me and I'll send you. And what you do is you circle your values. You circle 10 that really reach out to you, then you take 5. And then the most important thing comes. So when I'm doing my values worksheet, when I write fitness and I share it with Erica, Mike, Nolan, anybody who trains with me, Kevin, my throwers, and I say fitness is number 1, they all go, yeah, we get it, okay, move on. I say order is number 2. You know, when I teach you the discus, it's a system. Yeah, I got that. Generosity, you guys might not know it, but in the state of Utah, you know, I support lots of important causes, mostly music, because I don't have my hand in it. I bought Utah State University a new discus cage. Okay, I have my hand in that a little bit. And then the 4th one is my willingness to learn new things. And when the first time I did it, I said my 5th value, the first time I did this, I said my 5th value was something, and then I told my friends, I think my 5th value is flexibility. Thank you. So it's important when you do your values worksheet to have someone close to you to share your list with you. And if they laugh out loud at you, you kind of go like this. And then you go back and you do the sheet again. Because your friends know your values. Your loved ones know your values. Your athletes know your values. If you watch Ted Lasso, he says he doesn't care about wins and losses, and everyone thinks he's joking. But good coaches know that wins come from focusing on your values. But it's still, I have won things and never wanted to talk to that athlete again the rest of my life. We won, but it wasn't fun. And I've had less than stellar accomplishments with my athletes. Not my fault. But it's been the most marvelous time of my life. My former athletes are my lawyer, my doctor, and my mortician, for example. They'll fight over my body in a couple of years. So this is kind of step one, and it's just big. It's just big buckets. It's big numbers. It's 4 things. Nothing I said there is perfect. Everything. There's some of you who are 34 who need to train like you're 56 because of wear and tear. When I'm working with former special operators, when I'm working with former American football players, I train them like they're 68. Okay? That's what they need. Because sometimes it's not the age, it's the miles. The next tool is kind of a fun one. I got this from the book, Die with Zero, but I didn't like the buckets, they were too big. So I changed it just a little bit, but this is an assignment I give people in my financial intentional community. It's basically, you look at the highlights of age birth to 15, 60 to 30, 31 to 45. Now, you're going to age out of one of these real quick. Okay? One of these is now going to be in the future. Very quickly for you, and a few of you a little bit not so quickly. 46 to 60, that's the bucket you're in. 61 to 75, that's the bucket I'm in. 76 to 90, that's the bucket my brother's in. And then 90 plus, which none of my family's ever made, and I want to make it there. Interesting thing, when I did this assignment for myself, I'll just share 2 insights. In 1965, when my brother Ray came home from the Vietnam War, my aunt died and gave us $500 for the 6 of us. So, being the John family, they went to the store and bought a barbell. So in 1965, I saw my first barbell, and I got their little booklet came with it, and I still have that booklet in my library. And it says basically from Ted Williams, clean and press 2 sets of 5, clean and press 2 sets of 5, do deadlifts 2 sets of 5, do curls 2 sets of 5. For those of you who know my work, in 1965 I was doing easy strength as a kid. I didn't know that. I was 8 years old. And I still think it's a better program than most of the nonsense I gave you. A few years later, I went to a junior high school, and I took a typing class without even thinking about it. It's the only C average grade I ever got in my entire life. But I learned how to type with a typewriter, with all my fingers, and I'm a very good typer. Who would have known that typing about weightlifting would buy my house, my fence, my new roof, my car, and all my daughter's education? You just don't know sometimes. This is why this is a fun assignment. You're a marine biologist. Somewhere in here, the bucket got filled with something that is where you're at now. You're in sports performance. Something happened here that fills the bucket now. This is when I became an elite athlete and got all my degrees. This is also when I became, started my life. This is a time where I had no money, but a lot of opportunities in education. And I took advantage of every opportunity and every chance I could to travel and see the world. Sometimes badly, This is also when I picked up a liver parasite and nearly died. But that's okay, because it's a great story. From here, absolutely no money, because I had 2 daughters who basically took every nickel and dime, penny that I had. It was a marvelous time. Strangely, when they got old enough, I started competing again. Age 47 was the best year of my life as a discus thrower and Highland Games athlete, because I stayed at it through these years. And once I had more time, oh, by the way, I'm breaking my wrist and discovering loaded carries is another part of the story, but we'll leave that out. This is by far when the money just started rolling in, okay? This age here, 61 to 75, it's not all roses. It was a very low point in my life. But at the same time, this is where I discovered that I wasn't 14 years old anymore. And new relationships showed up, new opportunities, and this is also when all the grandchildren showed up, which made me start thinking long term again. From 76 to 90, I'm going to be traveling and seeing the world. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing. Heck, think about this bucket here. Well, early in this bucket here, there wasn't even the internet yet. Who'd have known that I'd become world famous because I would give away so much free information? Why I became famous? I gave away stuff. I thought everybody knew it. You know, I love it. You know, I don't even know what technologies we're going to have here. I'll be doing workshops in Halo. I'll be here. Hello, everyone. Who knows? And of course, in the notes I write, at 90 plus, I will be having scandals with supermodels. That's my goal. So this assignment is a very simple one, and I would suggest you look at it. You just take a few memories of that age and say, okay, oh, this is when you could put your best friends in at that time. You could put in where you live. You could put in what you learned. But what happens is all of a sudden you realize, here I am at this age, reaping the benefits of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 experiences that happened here. This is the time, this is when I became part of the Special Forces, was here. Why would you say that? Because I had my brothers coming home from Vietnam, broken, badly, disabled, messed up. You know, how many 7-year-olds do you take aside and say, you can't go in his room with me, even if he's screaming? You know, you have babies. Do you teach them that? No. So I learned how to deal with real issues then, which paid off when I got here and I was old enough to make a difference. Because I understood what the wives and the children are going through. Well, who knows? But my entire career was set by my age of 15 when I look backwards. Just like Schopenhauer taught us, and we all read Schopenhauer. You know, as you're going through life, you just think you're living through a series of collisions. And then you look back and it's a straight line, okay? The other thing that's nice about this is it gives you a chance. If you're old, you know, if you find yourself in deep debt and obese here, how's that gonna get better here? If you find yourself unable to pay your bills here, what part of aging is gonna make that better? And I'm talking about bills, not just financial, but life bills. So this assignment doesn't look like much until you step back and you look at it. And I personally have found this to be one of the most illuminating things in my career. This is my biggest assignment, and this is the most important part of my inner circle. We got another inner circle coming up. For those of you who live in different time zones, it might be hard to work out, but we'll make it work for you. It's called the 5-2 assignment, and I got to tell you folks, I've been doing this assignment since 1986. When I came back from the Middle East and I was broken, I was asked to teach economics. By the way, just to let you know, school started on Monday. I was asked to teach economics for a semester on the Friday before. So I had 3 days to prepare for one of the hardest academic classes there is in the secondary level, because it's not just math, but it's a bunch of other stuff. Nailed it. And what I did was I realized that I had to get the kids to think about personal finance. And I was at a bar in Salt Lake City one time, and I had a former student come up and we started talking. And she started getting misty-eyed, and she said, I was smarter at 17 than I was at 27, because she found the first one of these, the assignment then was called My Life is My Message. But she said, I was so smart then. What happened? What happened is, I'll spell it for you, L-I-F-E. Life, man. Life happens to you. But it breaks down to this. What do I want in 2 decades? You know, it's funny because we have a young person here. In 2 decades, you'll be 33. A lot can happen at 33. In 2 decades, Daisy's going to be almost 21. Elwin will be 21. My daughter Kelly will be 55. But let's add one, I'll be 88. And I want to be around. Well, I was just telling you guys, I want to be traveling and stuff. But that doesn't help some people. You'll get this sometimes. I don't know. Well, okay, so there's a highly scientific term I came up with called shit sight. It's the opposite of what you think. Shit sight is this. You don't know what you want? Well, tell me what you don't want. And everybody who knows me knows what I don't want. In fact, I even worked it out. So shit sight is this idea. I want you to think 20 years from now what you don't want. It's really easy for me. In fact, I talked to Kelly this morning on the phone. Oh, look, Dad, they have pudding. You like pudding. And they have bingo on Wednesdays. For me, it's going in the home. To not have the ability to stand up from the toilet by myself. And I am not going to let that happen. I'd rather be taken out in a rip current or by a shark than that. So for me, when I don't know if I want to walk my 10,000 steps or not, I just turn to my shit side idea, and then there I am walking out the door. It's not always perfect. If I have to make a choice between fasting and eating donuts, so maybe you don't know what you want in 2 decades, but you should know what maybe you don't know what you want, but hopefully you know what you don't want. I don't want to be destitute. I don't want to be hurting. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. So to do that, you go to the dentist 3 times a year. You go to the eye doctor once a year. I go to my medical doctor twice a year for blood tests. I go to the American Red Cross 5 times a year to donate blood to get those free blood tests and all that other stuff. The next one is 2 years from now, and it's weird to think 2 years from now I'll be 70. Woo. 70. Isn't 70 old? Well, sure it was when I was growing up. I don't want to be 70 and old. So 2 years from now is close enough that you can go, okay. So if you say like you want to be debt free in 2 years, that might be tough. But if it's only 10,000, that's 5,000 a year. Okay, now my math skills are going to show better. But it's about $550 a month. Can I pay that off? I know my math skills are terrible, and I think I screwed that all up, but close enough. But the idea is, well, I want to make sure I have this taken care of. Well, 2 years, I can do that. A couple of years back, I decided to completely redo my house, and unfortunately, I forgot to share with everybody that I wanted to do it in 2 years. I put on a new roof, all new fences, all new garage doors, all new exterior doors, which are great, all new interior doors, and sadly we had a party and someone went through my deck, and a whole new deck. I did that in 2 years, which was a huge expense, but now when I walk on that deck, I mean, when the apocalypse happens, that deck will still be there. This is a deck, man. I mean, this deck, you could have an Olympic lifting competition on it, 3 platforms. This is a deck. But it's done. It's behind you. In 5 years, I'm not going to have a conversation. Should we get a new deck? It's behind me. Make sense? 2 years, you can get so much done. And then the next one, now, if I'm working with adolescents, it's 2 weeks. Because with teenage, especially in America, 2 weeks is about all you can get. Because, you know, I have athletes who play 3 sports. So in the fall, it's American football. They wrestle in the winter, and it's track and field in the spring. And 2 weeks is, in wrestlers, it could be 6 competitions, you know, two dual meets in a weekend, you know. In American football, it's a game and then 2 more. A lot can happen in that time, okay? But for most of us, 2 months, and what you do with the 2 months, what's great about it as an adult, is at the end, if you do it every month, at the end of a year, you have a monthly checklist. And Erica will tell you that I have, when September came around, I said, oh, you gotta register Nolan's car, because that's on my monthly checklist. My car registration's on it. I have replaced the heater filters and air conditioner filters every quarter. Well, I have that written in there. Coming up in just a few weeks, we're opposite you guys here, but it'll be, I cut down my mint, I cut down my sunflowers, and I prep for winter. I get the mulch piles ready and everything. I take the mower back, bring the lawn, the snow blower out. I bring the snow blowing shovels out. There's not even a hint of winter, but winter's a funny thing. It's like babies. They show up when they feel like showing up, right? So you start to get this monthly checklist. Nothing makes me madder than when someone says, damn, it's Christmas. How did you not know? It's December 25th, every stinking year. One thing, I have a daughter, her name's Kelly, and I love her. She thinks we should celebrate her birthday every month. So I have a note in March that Kelly's birthday is coming up on April 3rd, because I have to be emotionally prepared for her birthday every year, just to prepare myself. So you come up with a checklist, and it says, and it's just a piece, it's a Word document. It says April, taxes, in the United States, that's tax season, Kelly's birthday, and then we got daisies coming into it now. But you just set it up and you look at it, it's like nothing shocks you anymore. And the last 2 ones are the big ones. Each and every day I follow a pirate map. Now this is Pat Flynn's idea. Josh Hillis and I wrote a book on fat loss, which is really good, except it's 432 pages and far too much. I gave, in your handout, I gave you guys a pirate map for fat loss, and I'll share it again in just a minute. People just want, where's the buried treasure? Here's a pirate map. Go to St. John's Island, find the white coconut tree, take 7 paces to the west, dig down. That's a pirate map. My pirate map is on my computer, and it's on my journal, and I used to keep it on my mirror, but I don't anymore. Before I go to bed, 1, coffee for the morning ready. I now have an assistant who does that. Take hibernate. Make Bumper's to-do list, which I'll get to in just a minute. That's number 1. Number 2, and here's your pirate map for fat loss. Lift 3 days a week with original strength between sets. Walk 10,000 steps a day. Keep the pedometer in the pocket. Have any of you seen me do this since you've got it? Number 3, morning supplements. I take supplements in the morning. 2 basic meals a day, lots of fruit and veggies. I hope I've modeled that while I've been here. Number 4, keep track of measurements, lifts, and photos. So every Saturday or Sunday, I send my coach a picture like this, and all my weekly measurements. Sending someone your picture at age 68 is not the best thing you want to do. Then number 5 is to make a difference. And I hope you see that in my generosity and what I've tried to, I guess, model while I've been here. I try to make a difference in people's lives. 2 decades, if you can't get there, shit site helps you a lot. 2 years is my favorite template for housing and education. 2 years from now, where are you going to be? What are you going to be doing? You know, why put that reading off that book until the night before reading today? 2 months ends up giving you a monthly checklist, which, by the way, is money. And then today, and then tomorrow is something we call the Bumper's checklist. It doesn't matter, but every day I make in my journal, I put the date, I leave the weight, I weigh in every morning, and then I have this thing called bumpers. So for me, at my age where I'm at now, the two most important things for me are my physical health and my financial health, okay? So I have these two numbers, which is funny, because I am 17 pounds under my bumper right now, 8 kilos. But I'm not gonna change that bumper until I can prove to myself that I can stay 8 kilos under. My bumper was, don't worry about it, it's pounds, but it was 218 to 228. So in January, I went 217 to 227. But the idea of a bumper is this. It's Nick Peterson's idea. It's real quick. The biggest mistake we make, and I did it as an athlete, and I talk about this in my books a lot. I'm just gonna tell you the story real quick. I'll be in pounds, but just follow along because it's a pounds kilo game. 1976, I'm just a baby, 18 at the time. Dick Nottmeyer, my coach, and Jim Schmitz go off to the Montreal Olympics. That day, Lee James, my hero, wins the silver medal in the Olympic list. Great American athlete. My dad takes me to the Sports Palace gym in the city to get my workout in. My PR that day is in pounds, 270 pounds. I clean and jerk, I get to 264, 120K, and it's easy. And my dad says, he called me bump, go up bump. So I take in pounds, 271 new PR. And it went up really easy, and Dad goes, that looked easy. I take 282, and it goes right up. That was easy. I take 292, goes up easy. And I'm standing like this, and Dan Curiel from the Sports Palace comes up, because I'm loading 137.5 on the bar, and he goes, are you doing deadlifts or high pulls? I go, no man, I'm clean and jerking. The reason I took that number is 303, 300. First time I went over 3, okay? 18 years old, I clean and jerk at 300, 303. I make the jerk, put it down. Dan Curiel's like, what have you been doing? Nothing. I don't know what happened. So I'm now an official 300. I'm now strong enough to be an international level discus thrower, okay? What do y'all think went through my head? That's the new normal for me. Every single day I'm gonna add 15 kilos to my lifts, right? So I did it on this Saturday, next Saturday I'm gonna add another 15, following Saturday I'm gonna add another 15, another following, that 15, then I'll be over, up to 182.5. Funny thing is, I did get up to 182.5, 17 years later. So what a bumper is this, is to be strong enough to be an international level thrower, you basically need to clean and jerk 135 to 140. Getting up to 182 doesn't really help you throw farther. Doing 80 kilos doesn't really help you either. The bumper is 125 to 145. If I'm in that lane, I'm strong enough. A bumper is just enough and not too much. It's enough. I'm having a problem right now with my body weight because I'm trending down so fast. Because I hired a coach. I'm doing the 10,000 steps a day. I gotta tell you, the calorie thing is so easy for me, I'm shocked. Because basically I eat protein and fruit and some veg, and it's hard to get fat on that, Oh my God, I got fat eating salmon, said no one ever. I eat 2 kilos of salmon, I just get fat. Good luck on 2 kilos of salmon. Financially, I have a bumper also. And it's a good size number. Well more than I need to stay alive. But then there's another number. Now, sometimes when I come out with a new book, or sometimes I just luck out because of all kinds of things happen. And here's my top bumper. We'll say my bumpers are 5 and 10. They're not that, but I'm just making up the numbers. 5, enough to survive and thrive, travel, take care of my grandkids, that kind of thing. 10, that was great. So I live between 5 and 10 financially. What if I have a month where I go 15? And it doesn't matter. Euros, it doesn't matter. I do this. That's good. I take that 5, maybe what I did a couple months ago, since 1987, I got in a program in 1987 called Debt-Free Millionaire. A couple months ago, I became debt-free. And I'm very proud of it because I had a couple good months and all I did was, and they're not even, I mean, they weren't even debts. I paid cash for my cars, I paid cash for the roof, I paid cash for the debt. No, I didn't pay cash for the debt because I wiped out all my funds. I paid off my debt. So now I'm debt free. If I have a good month, it goes into savings or I donate it. I do this with that money because I can't have order in my life if I'm in debt. If I have more money, I need to be more generous. Did you see how my values suddenly swam in to my bumpers? Okay? All right? So, I recommend, and we know this from the research, that having a to-do list is one of the best things you can do for your financial and physical health and mental health. There are times I will wake up at night and I'll write something down, and sometimes it's a scratch on a piece of paper because my mind is whirling, trying to remember, I gotta call Justin, I gotta call Justin, I gotta call Justin. So you know what I do? Call Justin. My brain relaxes as I go to sleep. So, Vicky asked the question how she should lift weights. So let me answer it now. 2, 3, 5 with barbells. Okay? That's days a week, sets, reps, exercise. You can do lift weights 2 days a week, and you can do 2 sets of 2. Yeah, with 2 exercises. Pick an upper body and a lower body. You can lift 3 days a week, do 3 exercises, 3 sets of 3. Stephen Court's powerlifting program. You can lift 5 days a week. That would be hard. Well, you can do 5 sets of 2. So you can lift 2 days a week, you can lift 3 days a week, you can lift 5 days a week. You can do 5 exercises, push, pull, hinge, squat, load, and carry. Or you can do 2 exercises, a big lower body move and a big upper body move. Depending on what you need, you pick. You can do 5 sets of 2, 5 sets of 3, 5 sets of 5. You can do 3 sets of 2, 3 sets of 3, 3 sets of 5. You can do 2 sets of 2, 2 sets of 3, 2 sets of 5. Anything you want. You can do, and the point is, that's it. That's weightlifting with a barbell in a nutshell. You make it more complicated than that, you're selling things. Weightlifting is the simplest thing I can actually teach people. More important than an actual program. How did I lose 48 pounds in 4 years? It wasn't one Tuesday workout. It wasn't one 25,000 step day in Australia. It was 10,000 steps a day for 4 years. It was a small caloric deficit for 4 years. It was getting in reasonable workouts. My workouts, and it's funny because, and you heard right here my pirate mouth. You might have missed it. Let me say it again. 3 days a week, I lift 3 days a week with original strength between sets. I bench press, followed by, well now I'm doing a little walk. I walk like this now, it doesn't matter. Between every set of lifts, I'm doing original strength, and the second I finish that workout, off I go on a walk. It's reasonable, it's repeatable, and it's doable. And the secret to any level here, wherever you are in your age, reasonable, Herbert's insights on training are reasonable. Is it reasonable to make sure your kids know how to climb and balance? It's reasonable. And maybe you don't like the idea of teaching your kids how to fight until they need to fight to protect themselves. We had an interesting conversation today with 2 of us in this thing. Tim was a firefighter. He's the guy who runs into the fire. So you might disagree about teaching your kids to fight until they have to save themselves from a lunatic, a crazy, a rapist, somebody inappropriate. It's better to learn these skills early than late. It's better to think about 2 decades from now, today, than 2 decades from now. So the point to answer Vicky's question is,
You know, lift some weights, do some original strength, go for a walk, watch your calories, maybe occasionally fast, get some sleep, be a good person, and make a difference. Thank you so much.